Welcome to this Gifts of God program. I'm so happy to have you with us. And today I wanted to discuss karma. This word, I don't think it's used that much in the Course in Miracles, but I have a little different view of what some people think of as karma. And I wanted to talk about that. Sandra and I often get in a debate about the word karma. She's read a lot of things that Amaji has said about karma, and I approach it from more of the Course in Miracles perspective. I consider karma just simply cause and effect. Cause and effect. And we have memories, we have thoughts, and even the Course in Miracles doesn't talk too much about reincarnation, but I really feel that we have thoughts that we bring into this life that are leftovers from past lives. We talk a lot about in rebirthing the personal lie, which is a negative thought, personal thought we have about ourselves. And my feeling is that is a kind of a karma. It's a tendency that we bring in from a past life. And I had this teacher in Ho'oponopono, and he made this statement I never forgot. He said, if you have a problem now, that means you always had it. Meaning you had a problem similar to that in a past life, who knows how many, but because it didn't get healed, it didn't get forgiven, basically, is what we learned from the Course, is that the atonement is achievable, but through a process of forgiveness, right? So that forgiveness is the active healing mechanism in the Course in Miracles. So if you have something from a past life that was causing you pain, suffering, problems in relationships, and you didn't clean it up, you didn't forgive it, well, then you'll revisit that memory of that problem in this lifetime. And basically what this lifetime is giving you is another opportunity to forgive those relationships, that situation, that set of thoughts. That set of thoughts that was causing that result. So in my view, it's not in conflict with the way some people view karma. Some people view karma as like a payback. Like if you did some harmful deed to someone in a past life, or even in this life, you may get the balance of that coming back to you in a similar harmful deed that someone does to you. So in some way, the karma is paid back or balanced off, in that way. So when you think about it, there's probably a lot of karma that we're cleaning up. That any problem we have in life that we're trying to solve is just a repeat of a memory that we're still trying to solve, So I had an interesting experience this week. You all know I write this thing called Artlook, right? Most of you get that, and some of you really like it, read it, are attentive to it. So this last Artlook I did was on Albrecht Dürer, and Albrecht Dürer was an artist in Germany during the, I would say mid-Renaissance times. He wasn't an early Renaissance, but he wasn't late. He was sort of in the middle, around a little bit after the Italian Renaissance. Michelangelo, Raphael, Da Vinci, and then a little bit after that was Albert Durr, and he had done a lot of study in Italy. So I'm looking into his life more than I normally would because I'm writing this article. And he was one of my childhood kind of heroes. You know, before I decided to go to art school, I was kind of enamored with his work, especially his engravings, his drawings. And I even had a couple of books of his drawings that I really kind of consumed, right? But I hadn't really read that much about his life. Well, it turned out he was the son of a goldsmith, which would explain his craftsmanship because goldsmiths are very meticulous. They have to deal with very precious materials and metals. And usually they're working at that time, they're working for very high class people, you know, you know, that was still the feudal system. So it would have been, you know, royalty, people like that, noblemen, those sorts of things. So his father was a goldsmith and had quite a clientele. And then he became an artist, but mostly supported by his father, who was a very prosperous goldsmith, right? So he could pretty much do whatever he wanted to do. Well, I know this is going to be a little sensitive, but I think I'm going to go for it. So I was reading about his life, and I got to this point where they were talking about he married one of his teacher's daughters, right? And then later, he spent a lot of time away from home. He did travel in Italy and studied art and met some of the Italian Renaissance painters and so forth. And he had this one patron. And then somewhere in the middle of the article, it said that historians think that he was gay because he wrote these letters to this one patron, and they were always putting his wife down and complaining about his wife. And this one patron was saying, oh, she's, kind of a fishwife and blah, blah. And Albert Durr was always trying to get away. And there was also one drawing that he did of a bathhouse with a lot of men, and they suspected he was gay, right? So I'm looking at this, and I'm feeling some kind of a karmic connection with that. And I'm also feeling that there might have been some kind of past life connection I had with Albert Durr, and I took some of that energy in this life, or I had some of that energy. And also this issue of being gay. And it just occurred to me that I might have been gay in a past life, and that some of my early childhood experiences, even though I didn't think I was gay, but I had some friends in high school and friends in my early childhood, and that it seemed like there was this compatibility with that somehow. I don't know. It kind of opened up a karmic bubble that I'd never opened up before. And it all started when I read that they thought Albert Durr was gay. And then I felt so strongly about his work when I was younger. And I even went to Germany one year to go to his house. And in my former marriage, My ex-wife and I traveled to Nuremberg because I wanted to visit his house. And we even bought a few of his engravings that they did reprints of that were very nicely done. I mean, so I felt this real connection to him. And then this week, I'm seeing all this stuff because I did the article of his life. And, and there were a lot of great artists that I love who were also gay. Walt Whitman, for one, he was a very great poet in the US, and he's actually my favorite poet. I relate to his work. He and this other Indian poet, Tagore, I think they're my most strong influences in my writing. And Leonardo da Vinci was gay. There's a lot of sexual fluidity in artists' lives, and so I'm seeing that, and I'm also relating to it and kind of feeling it, and then thinking about karma. Well, I guess you inherit the good things and the not so good things, but yeah. So I was seeing that and not making it wrong, not making it right, just seeing it, observing it in myself. And so that was something that I was thinking about, karma and the cause and effect that we bring over from a past life. And it's just thought forms, it's just memories. That was one of the strongest things that I think I got from this teacher of Ho'oponopono. Haleakala was his name. I studied kind of simultaneously with him and Tara Singh at the same time, more with Tara Singh, but Haleakala was this teacher of Ho'oponopono. And then when he said this thing, that if you have a problem now, or if you have a tendency, you always had it, and it's just a replayed memory. It's just a thought being replayed. All right, so let's just say you have a karma, which is a negative tendency. How do we transcend karma? How do we free ourselves from karma? How do we free ourselves from the results of thoughts that we may not even know we have, because they could be so deep in our subconscious? Like I never even thought about this issue of gayness until this week when I'm looking at Albert Durr, and then also in the art world it's very prominent. I remember when I first went to art school, it was kind of new to me, and I had a gay professor who was kind of interested in me, and I didn't want to go that route. And then I ended up with this roommate who was gay, and that was totally new for me. And there was like quite a kind of a central station there, having a gay roommate, and so I just kind of revisited some of those experiences. And then it all kind of made sense that I probably was gay in a past life. And even in the life with Albert Durr, could have been in that circle, So I was just thinking of it, not as a judgment or not as anything other than it explains some things in my life. And I think, it's good to look deep into our past lives. We really haven't been so focused on past lives, Sandra and myself, in our work, because people usually have enough junk to clean up in this life that we don't have to go too far, but there are some deeper things about these carryovers. So I was interested in that. Now, the other thing I remember hearing Krishnamurti say one time was that you can be free of all karma when you come to a place in your mind that's silent. And I think Tarsing would have agreed. Like one of the main fortes of being with Tarsing was that he could bring his own mind, and the people around him, he could bring their mind to this state of inner silence. And in that state where you've transcended thought, you've also transcended karma, because karma is thought. My view of karma is that karma is just thought that repeats itself and keeps producing a result. So if it's a thought that's giving you a painful result, it's from a thought you had before, and you haven't forgiven it, or you haven't looked at it, you haven't released it. You haven't brought that part of your mind to silence. So it's still producing results. Why would Jesus start off with the lessons and say, nothing I see means anything? These thoughts don't mean anything. My thoughts don't mean anything. I'm stuck in the past. I'm preoccupied with the past. Well, that's all about karma. It's all about the cause and effect of thought. And we're in the belief that those thoughts are real. We're in the belief that those thoughts have form and they manifest definite things or situations or feelings or relationships, which they do, but those are all projected, That's what we're doing. We're projecting based on what we're thinking. And that's karma. In Rebirthing, we tell people, your thoughts produce your results. All that is, in my opinion, it's just karma. Karma is the cause and effect of thought. And let's just say, okay, well, you do something that you have guilt about. And maybe in the moment, it's something that you feel like, oh, it was tough. You made your decision, and then later on you feel guilt about it. Well, that's a thought, isn't it? The guilt. And then the guilt is going to draw certain experiences to you, that may, be a form of punishment. We have this saying, all guilt demands punishment. So either you'll sabotage something in your life to pay back the guilt, or you'll get a disease in your body, or somebody will do the same thing to you that you did to someone else. But it's still the cause and effect of the thought of the guilt. So karma is always that. It's always some kind of a payback, a result from former thoughts. So it's a cause and effect of thought. And then to get free of the karma, we'd also have to be free of the thought. How do we do that? Well, okay, that's where forgiveness comes in. If you look at a mistake you made and you had guilt about it, and then at some point you see from working with the Course that, yeah, everybody makes mistakes, and that forgiveness is the way you neutralize it or you release it, at least the guilt. And so forgiveness really is the key to happiness. It's not only neutralizing the thoughts that produced results, it's erasing your guilt and erasing your karma. Because now you don't have a charge on it, you don't have the guilt. Maybe you have to do something, apologize. Maybe you have to do some service, or maybe you just have to see that was what was operating. My thoughts about X, were operating and they were reproducing similar outcomes. So when I saw this thing about Albrecht Dürer, and then I did all this kind of history of my childhood, and it was really quite amazing because it was showing me everything. It was showing me some past life relationships, especially with this lifetime in Dürer's time, and then various artists' lives and how they functioned in the world. And then my own life, in this life, and certain things I reviewed from my childhood, friends I had in high school, friends I had, in grade school. Then when I went to college, and, that whole thing playing out. And it made so much sense. And then as a result of that, I felt free. I felt, having looked at those relationships and the whys and the wherefores, I felt it somehow explained things deeper than I had seen it before. And I also felt more free from the past, more free from it. And partly, we're also fasting. Sandra and I have been fasting for the last week or so, not eating a whole lot, just eating very small amounts. So that is also bringing up things to look at, bringing up things to cleanse. And So I think we all want to get free of the past, right? We want to be in the present. And this is a big deal. A major part of the course is for us to be in the now, be in the present, and clear our past, and clear anything we're carrying over from the past. And I think that this is an important subject that we all have to look at. And what is our karma? What is our carryover from the past that we're still replaying? And it's great to replay the wonderful things, but it's mainly the painful and death-producing things that we want to clean up. Yeah. So we're kind of excited about this new training called Happiness and Longevity. And Sandra is probably one of the premier voices on this subject of physical immortality and longevity. And I just wanted to read this one section. We haven't even done a podcast on it yet. It's so deep. It says, living is joy. Living is joy. But death can only weep. You see in death escape from what you made, but this you do not see, that you made death, and it is but an illusion of an end. Death cannot be escape, because it is not life in which the problem lies. Life has no opposite. It is of God. Life and death seem to be opposites, because you have decided death ends life. Forgive the world, and you will understand that everything that God created cannot have an end, and nothing he did not create is real. In this one sentence is our course explained. In this one sentence is our practicing given its one direction. And in this one sentence is the Holy Spirit's whole curriculum specified exactly as it is. Well, this notion of longevity, some people would say, well, you're not a body. The Course says you're not a body. That's true. You're not a body, you're spirit, and spirit is that which cannot be destroyed. And it says spirit is in a state of grace forever, and your reality is only spirit. Therefore, you're in a state of grace forever. Therefore, you are immortal. But now, where's the body come in? The body is just a tool that we use to communicate and do stuff in the physical dimension, right? Express ourselves in the physical dimension. So at least in this dimension, the body has a use. And if we're using it to communicate our reality, I'm spirit, you're spirit, I'm love, you're love, I'm looking on a forgiven world. I want to encourage you to look on a forgiven world. We're using the body correctly. Oh, and we're eliminating from our minds fear, guilt, and anger. And we have a mission to help others eliminate fear, guilt, and anger, because those are blocks to happiness. I mean, we want to feel good when we're here, right? We want to feel joy. We want to feel holy. And this says right here, living is joy. So God is joy. God is life. Life is joy. Therefore, God has to be joy. And there are other lessons that reinforce that. God being love is also happiness. It says God's will for me is perfect happiness, 101. Then it says I share God's will for happiness for me. Then it says God being love is also happiness. And that's what I'm seeking. I seek but what belongs to me in truth. And you'd say, well, what's the truth that I'm seeking? The next lesson says God's peace and joy are mine. So it's all about joy and peace and happiness. They all go together. Love, joy, peace, happiness. You can't separate them. Just like you can't have joy, love, peace, happiness coexisting with fear, guilt, and anger. They don't go together. So you're either in one world or you're in the other world. And part of time that we use here in this body is to learn the difference and to clean up our karma so that we don't use thoughts that produce anger, fear, guilt, et cetera, right? So forgiveness is the means, but we have to see that whatever our results are, it's our causing them with our mind. And that is karma. How do you use your mind? That's cause and effect. Whatever you think in your mind, whatever you have in your mind will produce a result. Inevitably. You don't get away from that. Thought always produces a form of some kind. Now, are you thinking with the thoughts of God, or are you thinking with the separated thoughts that have fear, guilt, and anger? And so like if you're thinking with those thoughts, your karma is going to be what you get, not happiness. So see, karma becomes not so much a payback. It's just a law of cause and effect by which we clean up what is in our mind through forgiveness, introspection, doing the lessons. That's what the Course is. It's cleaning up our mind. It's a mind training, and it's cleaning up our karma, which are thought forms that are projected. And when we stop projecting guilt, fear, and anger, we won't get hell anymore. We'll get heaven. You see? Is it making some sense that karma is just our thoughts? And the Course in Miracles is here to clean up our thoughts. I mean, we'd all say we want more love and we want to have our heaven on earth and we have all that, There's probably not a human being that wouldn't want that. But how we get there, there's the question. It's an internal matter. And the innocence that we have within us can get shrouded in negative emotions, so we don't even see our innocence. Or maybe we did something that we have some guilt about. We had a client this week who had a childhood experience where she grew up on a farm, and there was something where she was supposed to take care of some of this livestock, and she was very young, seven or 8, and she wasn't fully informed of all the things she needed to do, and some of the livestock died. It wasn't her fault. It's just that she wasn't fully told all the things she needed to do, but she still was carrying some guilt about that, you know. So I'm sure we have things from way back where we were innocent. Maybe we just didn't know the full story, but things went wrong, and then we carried guilt about it. And then maybe it got suppressed. So then we sort of, time sort of put a scab on it, and it sort of got better, but it's still in there, you know, it's still somehow in there. And then when you do breath work, oftentimes that stuff comes up. And so I think that's what we're after in this work, is cleaning up our whole mind. I'm not saying you have to revisit every little thing that you hold guilt about, but you have to see that there is this tendency that we have things in our mind, in our subconscious mind, that are blocking us from going the whole way. And it's just thoughts. It's just thoughts. Now, I mean, if we were A1, excellent, get it the first time students, and we heard nothing I see means anything on day 1, right? and then we read, well, I give all the meaning everything has for me. And then a meaningless world is engendering fear, and it produces pain. Within like a couple of weeks, we'd be free, we'd be liberated, right? If we really had the ears to hear, we really took it in, and we applied it immediately. Well, most of us aren't like that. We have our tendencies and our unwillingness and our doubt and all of that. And even though we read it and we see the implications of the lesson, we somehow can't drop it, you know? We can't drop it and just be in that emptiness. Yeah, it freaks us out to be that much in the unknown. So we sort of agree. We say, yes, I can see that my thoughts are troublemakers, but I'm not totally willing to just drop thought. Parsing called that unwillingness. He said inherent to everyone is unwillingness. And that's why very few people go the full distance. You know, when you think about it, how many Jesuses were there? How many Mother Teresas were there? How many, Buddhas were there? I mean, people tried to go that far, not that they didn't. But you see what we're up against. clearing our thought, clearing the cause and effect of thought, which is so basic to human life. I mean, and you do need your thought. You know, you need your thought to drive a car and do what you do in the world and survive, and you need your thought for that. But this next step, happiness, maybe happiness has not very much to do with thought. You know, a lot of people think, oh, if I achieve something, then I'm going to be happy. So happiness has an object. Oh, the object of the happiness, when I can master that, get that, have that, then I can justify saying, well, that made me happy. But what if happiness doesn't have an object? It's an essence, you know? It's like the essence of emptiness, where you're not projecting thoughts, could be the real happiness. I suspected it is, and I'll tell you why, because I had many experiences with Tara Singh where I entered into this silence, this stillness, this stillness of the peace of God. He could invoke that. He could bring people into that space with him. And I had many experiences of that. So I know that it exists. And those were some of the happiest moments of my life. And if you say, well, what was it that made you happy? There's no object about it. It's not an object. It's the absence of an object. It's the undoing, and then the space that's left over from the undoing. Like you stop your thought long enough that this stillness of the peace of God comes in. And it's not like you're in a vacuum. I mean, you still have your five senses, and you're alert, and you're awake, and maybe even more alert and more awake, and your senses are even more tuned in, right? But they're not attached to anything. And then whatever it is you experience, you're experiencing it without the thought, and it has a purity, it has an essence. And I think this is what great art does also. It appears as though the art has an object, but then when you encounter something really great, like I have these cello pieces that were written by Bach, and they're for cello without any accompaniment. They don't have an orchestra or a piano, just a cello playing. And Bach wrote these unaccompanied cello suites called, and Yo-Yo Ma plays these. You can go into heaven just listening to that. And it's not a formula, you know? There's just something about his mastery. And I suspect that he's not using thought to play that. He's transcended the thought. Bach certainly transcended the thought when he wrote it. And then you have Yo-Yo Ma, who's such a masterful player, and he's beyond the thinking, and he connects with it. And then this music, and it's heavenly. So art can take us out of the thought, free of karma. It's free of karma, free of anything negative. It's pure peace and joy. And that's the function if you are, quote unquote, creating something, and that's an art, That's the function of the art, is to liberate yourself and liberate whoever's looking at the art or listening to the art, so that they make a contact with their true self. And that contact is free of karma. It's totally in the moment, totally present, totally beautiful. One time, Tara Singh said, "The only art is the art of living." And then I observed how he lived. He was never pressured. He was never into lack. He wore the best clothes, but he would say, well, I'll buy the best clothes. I might spend 3 times as much on them, but they last me for 25 years. So if you buy the best things, they're so classic, they never go out of style, and they're so well made. And instead of them wearing out in 10 years, they last you for 20 years, 30 years. So he had sport coats that he'd had for 25 years, and they looked like he just bought them yesterday. And they were top line. And I never once saw him pressured. I never once saw him flustered or frustrated or now he would get passionate, usually when he was trying to make a point with a student, and he would kind of get in your face and he would raise his energy to get your attention. But I never considered that anger. I always considered it was his absolute dedication to that person to help them see themselves and help them get liberated from whatever it was that they weren't seeing, right? So he would sometimes be very emphatic about that, but I never once interpreted that as like he was mad at me or anything like that. It was like, oh, he's trying to get me to see something, and I'm so dull, I need a little bit of a shock. And he would provide the shock, and I would wake up and drop it, whatever it was. So this karma, we're looking at even death. Sandra made a statement about a month ago in a lecture she was giving, where she said, death is an addiction. We don't usually look at death as an addiction, do we? We see, oh, well, death is just something that happens to you eventually. So we don't really see it as something that we are making. And I think this is going to be one of the main points of this new training, to give emphasis to this point, is that even death is karma. It's the cause and effect of thoughts. It's a whole different perspective. Because most of us were taught, well, death's inevitable and it's going to happen to everybody. And you don't have any control over it. Maybe you can do wise things to be healthy and live a healthy lifestyle, but there are certain things you have no control over, and they're going to happen, and you will decay and die, your body. And like, those are thoughts, those are beliefs. And what we're exploring now is questioning the beliefs, seeing if we really have mastery over our minds, I'll tell you, it's not so easy. I've been fasting for, the last 10 days, and I'm just noticing all my cravings. And it's, some days I can go and not have a cup of coffee. And other days, it's like coffee calling me, So it's like the mind has these attachments, habits, addictions. And when Sandra says, yeah, death is an addiction, that was like, wow, we never saw it quite like that before. And can we question death as an addiction? Now, granted, we're not into living a long life just to prove that you can live in a body longer. It's, well, maybe you have a function here and you have a mission of divine service, and you enjoy your work. I started painting again, by the way, and I'm enjoying it, and some really new things are coming out. And so maybe I have that passion for that work, and I don't feel like I have to stop doing it, or I don't feel I have to do it. I don't feel I have to stop doing it. It's just something that is an expression that brings me joy, and I want others to feel the joy that I feel from it. So that's a function. Bring joy, bring peace and joy to every girl and boy through whatever that expression is. And we all have our own expression. And help others through liberating myself from my negative thoughts and my karma. I might be able to help a few other people liberate themselves from their karma. And that would be a good mission. And that could go on, It doesn't have to have an end. Somewhere in the text it says, well, until everyone on the planet is in their Christ mind, there's something to do. and that could take a while. So I feel Sandra and I all have a lot to do in the coming years, and that we're dedicated to staying here as long as it takes until every human is awakened to total forgiveness in the Christ mind. We've been watching these. There's a movie out now on Robert Oppenheimer, who's the mastermind of the Manhattan Project that produced the atomic bomb. Very interesting character he was. But when you think about the billions, trillions of dollars humankind has spent on weaponry and destroying themselves, and now you have this Course in Miracles that would say that's all a self-projected hell that we made up. There's no reason for it. There's no reality to it other than what we project, right? So what if people in influential places actually woke up to that fact, that we wasted all this energy, money, time, resources on destroying ourselves and then defending ourselves. And the defense is the destruction. It seems like a big job to change the world, but maybe a few of us can do it. Have enough influence over others that people of influence change their mind about it. Then you're not only cleaning up your own karma, you're cleaning up the karma of mankind, the cause and effect of war, cause and effect of all these other negative things. So we've got plenty to do. We've got we all have a mission. We like to say, until you're walking on water and raising the dead, you still have something in yourself to clear. So I'm just going to end on this one thing. We do a morning walk, Sandra and I, down along the river. We go about, I don't know, a mile, and then we turn around and come back. And it's all along the river. Well, about a month ago, now mind you, it's June, we're walking along, and I didn't notice before, but there were two trees. There were two trees that didn't have their leaves on them yet. And they should have. It was June. It was like everything, all the other trees were, green. And these two, they didn't have their leaves. And I thought, oh, that's really odd. They didn't look, well, one of them sort of looked dead, but the other one didn't. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be nice if I could start practicing my resurrection techniques on these trees? So I did the Ho'oponopono on them, and I even took some solar water over, and I sort of doused both trees with the holy water. Well, one of them actually made it back. The other one didn't, but it was like, 50%. One out of two. I thought I did pretty well. That it's got the leaves now. The other one's deader than a doornail, but at least I had a role in resurrecting one tree. And so I'm going to keep practicing. But I thought that was kind of interesting that life gave me that opportunity. Does anybody want to say anything? Hey, Leonard, it's really good to see you. Leonard's our very good friend from Holland. And the moment we met Leonard, it's like, you don't find these people. God sends you these people. And we said, oh, yeah, he's one of us. Yeah.
Oh, that's for sure.
This is like a joy de vivre that always comes through. And I think that's, you start recognizing those people in your life where they're going to be around because they have that inner spark. And Leonard is one of those people. We knew it from the very time we met him. Yeah. That was about 6 or 8 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think, more or less. Yeah, a while back,
Yeah. Same with you, Carl. Same with you. I met Carl in Maui. Carl was Sandra's hairdresser in Maui. And the first time we went to Maui, he was still there doing that. And he has one of the best Hanuman statues I've ever seen. And he had it on his wall in his salon, and says, yeah, he's our people. He's one of us. How long? That was a long.
Thank you, Leonard. Thank you for today's share. It was incredible today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we might have had some gay past lives together, Carl.
Definitely.
I think so.
Or painting.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. Hey, you guys, it's great being with you. I'm glad we had a few more people this week. Okay, well, thanks a lot. I'll put this up on YouTube, send you guys the link if you want to listen again. God bless you all.
Brilliant.
Bye now. Yep.